So great. Mette, would you like to welcome everyone?
Yes, I see we
Thank you.
just got a few more joining us.
Yes.
So I'll just briefly start and welcome everybody and thank you for participating in this second meeting of our Start for Future exchange on entrepreneurship and corporate entrepreneurship. So for today, Bettina Meij from Stressec Center of Entrepreneurship is giving us some very personal insights into opportunities and barriers within entrepreneurship and corporate entrepreneurship from her prior experience before joining the ranks of scholars on the university. And afterwards, as promised last time, we will have a suggestion for a collaboration and Erasmus Plus presentation by Ines. And I think with no further ado, I will give you the word, Bettina.
Thank you so much, Mette. So we're addressing two elements here because these are actually my slides for my teaching in the University of Applied Science. It's not a class, it's just one session in a class for master students, and that they are getting aware that intrapreneurship or corporate entrepreneurship is different to what they are used to know. And as Mette mentioned, I was part of a multinational organization for 8 years, a couple of years in China and then in Germany. And I was in the pre-development arm, and I recognize the challenges I'm facing are not particular to this company. These are system challenges, and these are my very personal reflections. And yeah, so I will introduce what I teach the student, and afterwards also why I'm teaching it exactly like this. So Steve Jobs said once, it's more fun to be a pirate than to join the Navy. And I think this sums it up, that when you are creating a startup and you hire like-minded, hungry people to create something new from scratch, you're not facing the same challenges, system dynamics, as working in a mature company with existing hierarchies, existing portfolio elements, and maybe also a high reputed brand in the market. And oh, by the way, going back briefly, I can highly recommend the book Pirates in the Navy by Tendai Vicky. Tendai Vicky is one of the consultants within the Strategizer group of Osterwalder. It's a wonderful to read book. He also picked this quote up, and he is always talking that we cannot use pirates in the Navy. We need pirateers, and this is why I also picked the beginning picture by Lego figures or with Lego figures, that they are acting in a pirate way, but for a master or for a queen or king, like the pirateer in the British Empire many, many ages or decades, hundreds of years ago. But I think everyone who worked in a existing company, in a mature company, in a large and maybe a conservative company, he feels what Steve Jobs wanted to express. So before we're talking about intrapreneurs and corporate entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, let's briefly remind us what is entrepreneurship and what defines an entrepreneur. I use the definition by Fillon, who said an entrepreneur is an actor who learns continuously in order to recognize opportunities with potential for innovation, who makes innovation that add value, who takes moderated risks in order to innovate, and who uses resources economically in order to design innovative products or services with a competitive edge based on differentiation. So everyone with the experience in an existing company recognize it should not be so different, right? What defines an entrepreneur to an intrapreneur? And Pinchot, one of the main researcher, he and I think his wife, because it's Pincho and Pincho, defined an intrapreneur, an employee who do for corporate innovation what an entrepreneur does for his or her startup. I would agree with that, what the previous or the prior definition has been. Are the dreamers that do self-appointed general managers of a new idea, drivers of change that to make business a force of good. And here comes the kind of clash I have with my corporate reality, because there's this German quote, if you have vision, you should go to a doctor, or you should see a doctor. And they are not particularly welcomed in a mature company. Usually they are troublemakers. I got even called, yeah, so I think there's a lot of friction when people are self-appointing them and see themselves as drivers for change and really acting upon it without permission. And here comes the clash. So, what kind of competencies should they have in common? Many of you who are in teaching know this kind of flower. It's the EntreComp framework that unfolds what it needs to be entrepreneurial, to have ideas and seek opportunities, to be resourceful, as mentioned, and to get into action. We agree with that. But when we see the corporate reality in comparison to entrepreneurs or corporate reality, the managers and the intrapreneurs, there are differences. I just want to highlight three of them. What is the primary motive? It's not making something, often it is becoming someone in a corporate setting. Their own promotion, it's an ecosystem rather than an ecosystem. So it is about the corner office and the parking slot in front of the building. It sounds cynical, and a little bit sometimes it is. And it's not independent. And they are not primarily serving themselves when it comes to the innovative work. When it comes to the career, maybe, yes, but the work itself, the innovation, the idea, the invention needs to address the needs of the corporate, should be on corporate strategy and be aligned with the existing portfolio. And also the relationship, it's not your own company, it's not your own decision making. You are embedded in a hierarchy, and that cannot be underestimated. So here also the visualization of blank, where the strengths of a startup and an established company is. So the startups are particularly good in the search phase when it comes to seeking opportunities and through fast iteration of build, measure, learn, or quick, rough, cheap prototypes to validate a business model. But when it comes to executing and finding synergies and being more efficient, often established companies have their focus and strength here. And as you may know, dealing with both is usually important to be relevant tomorrow, to have innovation in the market that, yeah, make a company still existing tomorrow. But dealing with search and execution on both sides is troubling, and we're talking about the ambidextrous organization. And I think the master recipe in here is not found yet. Before I start with my insights, my personal insights after 8 years in corporate schizophrenia, Einstein once said, we cannot solve the problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. And that is, for me, a kind of a reflection what is so troublesome in a corporate setting, because they are fostering the same thinking, they have the same processes, and it's so hard to change the culture and as well the organizational structure, the processes at hand. So my perception of corporate innovation reality, and again, it might be a little cynical, but there is a lot of truth in it from my perspective. One challenge is the corporate innovation silo. Particularly large corporations have silos that are the business unit, the sectors, the divisions, and they are acting as often as an own entity with own KPIs and financial targets. And someone said, open innovation starts already inside a company from A to B. So not just between the company is an open innovation, just between divisions and BUs. And the logic thinking starts because the leader are measured by their own quarter or yearly targets, and they have to expand their business based on their installed base, on their existing IP, on their existing portfolio. And so they are afraid of cannibalization, a loss of reputation, and there is a lot of internal competition. And I mentioned it already, building from scratch is impossible when there is an existing portfolio. The value to customer and value to the market is sometimes behind what we need to leverage, existing IP or installed technology. And these kind of legacy makes it impossible, not just difficult, to have a fresh start. Another limitational factor is the corporate innovation strategy. Everyone knows you should spread your risk and you should think in short term, but also in long-term perspective, and that more radical, more disruptive innovation, they have a higher time span, and to plan your portfolio wisely. Here is the image by McKinsey. But the reality often doesn't look like the briefing we got. Oh, we need XYZ return on invest within a year or something like that. And when I see even our startups, they are working on their ideas also for years in order to validate them and then to disseminate them and get attraction in the market. And within this corporate innovation strategy, of course, an existing company with an existing customer base and a highly valuable brand in the market, they cannot put their brand in jeopardy. And I heard that, or heard it between the lines so often: be disruptive, think out of the box and create something outstanding new, but please don't bring our core business in danger. And that is a friction. In order to be really, really new, there are a lot of unknowns involved, and we need workarounds to take these risks and not jeopardize the corporate core. So many activities I saw are more renovation than innovation, and I became more and more skeptical if true radical innovation is actually possible in a mature company with an existing and high reputed brand. So additionally, rapid value, almost impossible because of the politics, and high impact, low risk is, from my perspective, not be aligned together. So additionally, when we would like to address something really, really new, we have limited resources in a corporate setting. Often we have HR blocks. We are not able to hire new people. We would have to build up this knowledge. Of course, this limits us in learning and addressing very new topics, very new technologies. And of course, also here, the existing portfolio building on cash cows that we are afraid to cannibalize our existing products. That is all limiting in the corporate innovation strategy. and corporate innovation processes. So um, many companies have a gate stage process. And within the stages, there should be iterations. So Cooper had an updated version of his stage gate process with iterated loops. But to be honest, once a year was the funding round in our company. We had to be sure what we would like to do from October on the new fiscal year already in March, latest April. And of course, we try to get as much money as possible. And we have to get everything out until end of September because the fiscal year was over. And having small budgets as iterative budget cycles as a startup could have if they are finding a new funding resource or funding source by an investment company, that is not possible. So flexibility in the stages. Also, yeah, I would say also the openness and transparency to decide market driven, evidence based in these gates. I haven't often have not seen it. It was always a very political decision. It was highly influenced by the favors of the decision makers. And many of my colleagues in pre-development were not allowed to go on the market to test, to validate, to collect real market evidence that their idea is desirable for the market and that the market opportunity is actually there. So problem solution fit and solution for market fit would not have been identified as some startups are forced to do it in these kind of corporate innovation processes. And the cycles are often so much more longer. I was responsible for bringing the human in the loop, meaning I should teach and support pre-development teams in applying design thinking. And I recognize just the term design thinking already brought allergic shocks to some of my constituents. And they see it as, oh, a new method in our organization. And they were method tired. And there are competitions between the methods. For example, in pre-development was also a business model group. And they thought, oh no, we're doing business modeling according to Osterwalder. They are doing design thinking, but please come on. Everyone who is doing design thinking knows in a certain point in time, of course, you need to think about the business model and how are you going to make money and to validate that. But as I said, it is a fashion in a company, and people are tired of these fashions, of these new approaches. And at the end, the approach doesn't matter, progress matters. And to have that in mind should be the case, but often the corporate units, the entities, market and position themselves with these tools and method, and their internal cost center, and they have to make address and meet their financial targets. Yes, so, and I think one of the biggest barrier is actually the corporate innovation power game. I mentioned it. It's more ego driven. It is who am I, not what can I invent and bring to the market? How can I change the world? And KPIs like where's my parking spot? Do I have a corner office? How many LP do I have? What is my flexible bonus? How many human resources have? How big is my department? Became more and more important in my perspective than really bringing a topic and the people forward. I do not want to be unfair to many of my previous colleagues. They are individually super, super kind and very engaged. I just see that in this system, it is hard to swim against the current. current. And so these are elements that are supported by a corporate, and they're becoming so difficult when you're trying to be more entrepreneurial in a corporate setting. My former boss said there are three ways to make something happen in our organization. Your boss wants it, your customer wants it, or your competitor has it. There are no in between. So to sum it up, the challenge and to cluster the challenges and how to address the challenges, I thought there are cultural, you know, the quote, culture eats strategy for lunch. But someone also said operational excellence, each culture for breakfast. No, for breakfast and the other for lunch, but I think you get it. Others are in the methodological area, and the third more organizational. They are probably much more. I just start with them. So, what can be done in order not to be too negative? Of course, there should be a failure tolerance. Maybe we should not call it failure, lessons learned, and a willingness to take risks. And this is important. We cannot punish someone in a corporate setting when they are making risks, when they are brave and experiment. And it's a definition of an experiment that it could go wrong, that your valid hypotheses can be falsified and not just validated. So we need a learning culture and foster experiments and extract the learnings and share the learnings. That is important. I was forbidden in a certain point in time to talk about my learnings in order not to jeopardize my career. My supervisor was really, really kind to me, and he knew what I was risking in sharing it. So, and in order to reduce the uncertainty of an innovation, experimental, quick, fast, cheap is inevitable. And meaning in order to do that, sharing the lessons learned, we have to create a culture and a structure of open innovation, sharing ideas and resources. And this has to come from top, but also from the bottom. It cannot just be the CEO, CTO, BU heads, R&D head. It needs to come also from catalysts within. Methodological challenges, we are aware of human-centered design, lean startup, maybe also methodologies like TRIS, but and how might we work in diverse multidisciplinary teams, cross-department, applying open innovation, and to take end-to-end responsibilities. But this needs to be integrated in the corporate framework and has to be lived. And people need to be build up knowledge and skills. So just sharing the knowledge is not enough. We have to hire people who are already skilled and have a continuous building up of knowledge and a reflection what can be improved and how very openly in order to master these skills. They need to be learned project-based. They are not to be just transmitted orally, theoretically. And of course, it is more organizational. We need to have access to customers, to users, to other experts for need finding, to really understand customer needs, to identify market opportunities, and to have a continuous validation and to find very early, quick, rough, cheap problem solution fit as well as a solution market fit. That easy it is in theory. And last but not least, the organizational challenge. To make these shorter development cycles happen, the process need to be adjusted and implement evidence-based decision making and getting rid of ego-centered decisions to please the decision maker in a company. And that is important. It needs to be supported by upper management and should go in a horizontal set until to the very basic operational structures. We need drivers from all areas that there is no glass ceiling, that there are activities bottom up as top down. So it's about accelerating change in order to drive innovation. And that is often just possible with co-creation and collaboration. And I think that can be learned when multinational corporations or mature corporations, when they are just regional, also with startups, because startups are working so different. And what I'm doing when my students are working with the corporate on a given challenge, I let them work on following tasks. First, extract and make it writtenly, who are your corporate partner? With whom are you working? What is their position? And whom do they need to involve? And to whom are they reporting to? Who are the decision makers? Who are the influencers? And to whom do they have to sell the project, and what are lessons learned from previous projects? So the corporate decision makers needs to be clear, their goals, their barriers, and their levers. So the liaison partners as well, their reporting entities or to whom they are reporting to. And goals like KPIs, barriers, what didn't work in the past, but also what could be levers. In a case I had previously in our company was the ego between business units, the fear of the development speed of a competitor. That could be levers, to be honest, because it's actually very human. And also to look in relevant driving forces, what are industry forces, what are economic forces, key trends and market forces. And if you know the framework around the business model canvas by Osterwalder, you will know these questions already, that we know not just the personal perspective of the liaison partner and the person they are reporting to, the decision makers, but also what are the elements that are steering or getting on the very operational level to the corporate itself. And the canvas could be like this. When they are working in a mirror that you're printing out, they have the marching order. What are the forces, key trends, macroeconomic forces? I would start with them and derive later on what are your corporate partners, the Leo partners you're working on, and also their goals, barriers, and levers, as well as their decision maker goals, barriers, and levers. And of course, often in the beginning, they are starting with hypotheses, but they should not just work on the project itself and developing a solution, but also how might they make the relationship and therefore the argumentation of and the selling of their final idea more suitable to the corporate context. So this is it from my side. You see the marching orders, that they are taking a mural or miro, a whiteboard, and working on these elements and extracting and reflecting it. And I recognize that what is important is they are becoming aware of the needs of their contact person or their stakeholders in the project. And of course, expectation management is one of the most crucial elements in every project, not just in corporate entrepreneurship. So I stop sharing that Ines can share the slides for the next topic. Are there any questions?
Maybe we just want to, first of all, thank you very much for sharing this honest and very insightful presentation. I'm looking forward to revisiting the slides because there is a lot of things in here that resonates with what I'm doing and with what I'm experiencing, and also with reflections about curriculum development. But I will leave the floor and ask, so if this is a reality that we're sending students out to, what does this mean for how we should design education to prepare students for this reality? Any thoughts, any considerations? And you can also talk about something else that spikes your interest in this.
Do you have any add-ons, or do you see other forces? Are you disagreeing with something I said?
No, actually, it brings me back to my corporate history. So thank you for thank you for reminding me not being too optimistic on teaching entrepreneurship and keeping it realistic. Yeah, thank you, Bettina.
Thanks, Petra. Yeah, so I think often the students are getting very frustrated, but when they are understanding it's a human on the other side and the person needs to follow the corporate rules and processes, steps, then at least the expectations and can be adjusted. And yeah. So Ines, I sent you the access to the slide. Maybe you would like to share, and if there are further questions, comments, you can of course send them to me directly.
Thank you so much, Bettina. Can you please confirm if you can see the slide?
You can see the slide.
Very good. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello from very sunny Tirana. First of all, thank you so much to Bettina and Meta for creating this space and for inviting me and for giving me the opportunity to share a project proposal idea that together with Professor Gentrit Berisha from the University of Pristina in Kosovo, we have been working on recently. And the project proposal is still a work in progress, so we are very much open to your feedback and collaboration. So I'm also looking forward to the discussion at the end of my short presentation. So just to introduce a bit myself, I am from Albania. I am a PhD candidate in management at the University of Bologna in Italy, just a few months away from the defense of my PhD thesis. And the research that I've been working on is basically an understanding of the development process of entrepreneurial behavior in academia. I could follow only a part of Bettina's presentation because I joined a bit late, but everything that you said was so insightful and makes me think, what if we try to apply this also in academia, also from a corporate sector perspective? Besides the PhD research, I do have quite an international experience in terms of my education. I hold an MBA from Gonzaga University in USA and also a Bachelor in Finance from UET, where I'm currently working as a project manager in the Office for Project Development and Internationalization. So at the moment, I live at the intersection between conducting research on entrepreneurship and also the very practical world of designing and implementing projects that aim to staff and professional staff in academia. As I said, for this project proposal on entrepreneurship, I'm not alone. I've been working and brainstorming with colleagues from the University of Pristina. But the main idea is to apply this project in this Erasmus Plus capacity building in higher education call of 2026, which has just recently been launched from the European Commission. I'm pretty sure that most of you are familiar with the call, but I would like to just summarize it very briefly. So the purpose of this call is to modernize higher education institutions, to boost relevance to labor market society, inclusiveness, to improve quality assurance and the governance of academic institutions, but also to enhance digital and entrepreneurial capacity and align with the Global Gateway Initiative of the European Commission. And there are several regional priorities that have been identified from the European Commission. And also this year, it's very similar to the previous years. So the main priorities for fostering capacity building in higher education are topics related to Green Deal, digital transformation, integration of migrants, governance, peace, human development, and sustainable growth and jobs. So regarding the main action where this project proposal, which I'm going to introduce in details in just a little bit, it really fits well with the Strand 1 action of this Erasmus Plus call, which aims to foster access to cooperation in higher education. And the purpose of this call is to bring newcomers, so less experienced higher education institutions, in this case from region of Western Balkans, and small different actors from the industry, and to reduce the internationalization gaps that exist between the less developed and experienced regions compared to the EU member state universities. The main target would be the least developed countries and the universities from these countries, such as Albania, Kosovo, Bosnia, and other countries of the Western Balkans, remote areas, newcomers, faculties with not very much experience in project development, students and staff with fewer opportunities. And the typical activities that this call would foster would be administrative and management capacity to enhance the quality of the education through different training programs for academic staff, professional staff, different exchanges and mobility support, and also to strengthen the links with business and the digital remote learning. The grant that is offered by the European Commission for such type of projects is maximum, only in the action for Strand 1, is maximum of 400,000 euros, and the project would typically last from 24 months to 36 months. And the deadline for this call is in February, so there's still a long time that we have ahead us in order to better shape the proposal. The project that we have been working on, which is at proposal stage, is the IntraCap. The title would be somewhat related to capacity building for academic entrepreneurship in universities in Western Balkans. This is actually a continuation of another project that I was involved in the writing phase in 2023, and it was successful. I'm currently implementing that project. I would invite you to also look at the website of IntraBuild project. That will this is a 2-year project aiming to enhance academic entrepreneurship in a few universities in Albania and Kosovo. The main idea for the second project, the IntraCap one, is to kind of expand the outcomes and make a better impact or a broader impact compared to the IntraBuild one. So the general objective of this new project proposal that we are working on would, of course, be to strengthen organizational capacity in Western Balkans, higher education institutions to nurture, pilot, and institutionalize academic entrepreneurship across the different roles that we as academics take in universities, whether through teaching, research, or third mission activities. And also, it sets a very good basis for developing entrepreneurship education in universities, which at this time it is lacking. And it will do this, so it will provide this good basis for developing entrepreneurship education with the training program that the project aims to develop. So just a little bit to emphasize the relevance of why we need this project and why it is important. So as also Bettina probably mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, as I could read from the slides, entrepreneurship is known as entrepreneurial behavior by employees within existing organizations. And this phenomenon has also been increasingly recognized as a very critical factor also for universities. To lead to internal renewal and their abilities to respond effectively in order to keep up with the different challenges that universities face nowadays. Also in Western Balkans, universities are continuously training people, but still the internal innovation mechanisms which would help to convert the ideas into new services, processes, or routines are still lacking or very immature. So there are slow approvals, high bureaucracy in some cases, limited cross-unit collaboration, and also sometimes no safe space for academics to pilot their initiatives. So this is exactly what this project would help towards so building the institutional capacity through people, processes, and policies, so that entrepreneurship becomes part of how the university would run. At the moment, we do have most of the consortium confirmed, but still we are lacking one EU partner This is also what we want to invite you to collaborate today. So the coordinator of the project will be the University of Pristina from Kosovo. We will invite another university from Kosovo, either from Pristina or maybe another city. We are still contacting a few colleagues. And also there will be non-academic partners who will be part of the consortium. And from Albania, we will have the European University of Tirana, the Tirana College of Technology, and also another non-academic partners. So far from the EU member states, we already have received sort of a confirmation from the VIA University College from Mete, but we are still looking for another university from Europe. Now I would like to briefly explain what the core methodology of the IntraCap project is, or at least how we have envisioned it in terms of implementation. The core architecture of the project is structured among 5 main work packages. There is the work package 1, project management and quality, which will be led from the coordinator of the project, the University of Pristina. And basically, this is all about ensuring that the project will be implementing successfully in terms of quality, coordination, financial system, administrative management, and so on. The work package 2 and work package 3 and 4 are the main development work packages. So we start with an analytical or conceptual foundation, trying to understand what the situation or the status quo is in Western Balkan universities in terms of how academics approach entrepreneurship, and to try to understand what would be a skill set that academic staff would need to embrace in order to act as entrepreneurs. So this is basically the first stage of the project, where we will map and define this skill set framework or capability framework. So we will try to understand what kind of skills and mindset and behaviors do these academic staff need in order to behave as entrepreneurs. And then the work package 3 will aim to establish an entrepreneurship academy, and this should be led, at least we kind of think that it should be led by one of the European partners, because this is what will translate the framework from work package 2 into education. After understanding the situation in the universities in Western Balkans, we aim to increase their capacities by providing a very good training system, either through blended learning formats, train the trainers component, or mobility exchanges at the European universities. So the idea is not just to deliver some workshops and training sessions, but in fact to create a reusable curriculum or a toolkit that could be further integrated in these higher education institutions as a potential study program. Work package 4 would be to kind of provide the right infrastructure in the universities in the Western Balkans, so that academics could behave entrepreneurially by establishing these hubs or intra-studios, where also the training modules and the toolkit would be piloted to students as well. And work package 5 is then dissemination and sustainability, which will make sure that the project is promoted well in the region, and that has a life also after funding will be ending. So to conclude, I would like to share what we are looking for at this stage and how you could potentially be involved. First of all, we are looking for an EU higher education institution to participate in our consortium. And so this would be a university that is active in entrepreneurship or has very good and staff development or academic leadership programs that somehow foster entrepreneurship in the institution. And second, we would welcome any kind of brainstorming or your contribution on how to better conceptualize the development work packages of the project. And we don't have to do this now. We can also have follow-up meetings, but at least this is a starting point in order to ignite our collaboration later. So we are open to any ideas that you might have at this point. If you see a connection with your work, I would be really happy to continue with discussing with you. So thank you again for your.
Thank you so much, Ines. Any questions?
I will stop sharing so I can see you because I couldn't see anything.
Any questions to Ines? So Ines, it is the Erasmus Plus for capacity
Yes.
building, right? Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Would you share your contact information in the chat?
Yes, of
If we want
course.
to reach out to you. Bettina just shared the mural board. If there's any newcomers who is not already in the mural board, please put in your profile there, and you can reach out to Ines via the email in the chat.
Thank you so much from my side.
Thank you, Ines. So I share again. Yeah. So we're planning the third meeting. So in case you're interested, please contact Ines directly. And in case you have further questions to me, or you would like to talk about something, introduce something, we would be happy to host your talk here. We're also very happy to have positive feedback from Nico. He wrote his PhD in the context of corporate innovation, and he already offered to give a short introduction. Our third meeting is planned for February. We have someone from industry again. He is the head of open innovation. To share the industry perspective, because it is our belief that we have to understand the kind of go-to situation in order to better understand what the requirements, content and procedure-wise for our students. And we haven't set the date yet, but Meta and I were planning per semester to have 2 touchdowns in this group. And the fourth meeting is planned in April, and about a practical experience with educating for corporate entrepreneurship from Chalmers. Mette, would you like to elaborate a little bit about that?
Yes. So Chalmers School of Entrepreneurship is in Gothenburg, Sweden, and they have, for the past 25 years, had a master program running, focusing on building entrepreneurial expertise. So they have 2 tracks. They have a track that focuses on entrepreneurship. So it's actually a spin out of research from the university, where students are acting as entrepreneur, but given the focus of their company. And the other track is the corp track. So that's where they have a collaboration with a company, where the students go in and, as a part of their master thesis, run an innovation project within an existing company. So I've reached out to some of my colleagues at Chalmers and asked them if they would come and share their insights. And this is a very different setting from where I'm at. So I'm teaching corporate entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship in a 5 ECTS course. They're running a complete master program. So this is for inspirational purposes, but also with a note that please be aware that there are huge contextual differences in terms of what we're capable of doing. But this is an example, and I think a strength of this group could also be to share our examples of how we do it in order to help each other and collaborate on creating better learning designs and getting a contextual understanding of what's actually doable in our context, and how can we inspire each other maybe to get better opportunities, be a bit entrepreneurial ourselves, but also in order to figure out how can we support each other in strengthening the effect of our educational designs. So Chalmers will be joining us in April and giving a talk of their experience in the field.
Yeah, and the head of open innovation is currently at BMW, but we haven't set the date yet. Currently, it was planned for January, but we have a appointment clash. Before we're ending the session, I forgot to mention what my insights in teaching it is that more and more it becomes visible for me that students appreciate when the person is very much aligned with the experience. What I mean by that, when we're talking about theories and processes, and not about our own project and experience, it feels different. They recognize it, they feel it. And so they know it is an insight I gained during my work experience. And I think this is more and more crucial, not just the authentic citation. And I think also there is a trade-off to be so brutally honest. I think many people in a corporate setting are not allowed to talk so openly about their challenges. Often they have to submit their presentation and get permission to show slides, to share slides. And to really address corporate reality, I think this is a kind of a must framework we should address. And that students are gaining their own experiences in a project. That is also important, that they are getting their first insight how it is working inside a company, but also working for a company before they are launching their own startup. I think that is also crucial. So with no further ado, we would close the session, Mette, right?
Yes. And please reach out to either Bettina and I if you have a suggestion for a talk, either one that you would like to give or suggestion for who we could contact. Then we will set an interesting 2026 program for us.
So Nico, you are already recognized, and thank you so much for offering. And we meet anyway in December, and we can also talk about that. We wish you a wonderful pre-Christmas time and a great start in the new year, even if it's still November, but we do not see each other face to face anymore. And thank you very much for being here today, and have a good time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for
Bye.
sharing.
Thank you for
Bye.
joining.